नमोऽभिष्टं भूतले स्वयं रूपकदा मह्यं ददाति सपदान्तिकं वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरो श्रीयुतापदकमलं श्रीगुरून् वैष्णवांश्च श्रीरूपं साग्रजातं सहगण रघुनाथान्वितं तं सजीवं साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनसहितं कृष्णचैतन्यदेवं श्रीराधाकृष्णपादान् सहगणललिता श्रीविशाखान्वितांश्च नमो ओं विष्णुपदाय कृष्णपृष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदांत स्वामिनिति नामिने नमस्ते सरस्वती देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पश्चात्य देशतारिणे वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्येव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासदि गौरभक्तवृंद हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे। Hare Krishna. So, welcome all devotees to our discussion today. So, we are going to discuss something based on the Bhagavad Gita. We will take 3 verses from the Gita. This is basically Bhagavad Gita chapter 18, text number 20, 21, and 22. That talks about knowledge in the 3 moods, Sattvagun, Rajogun, Tamogun. And our basic focus will be to see how to integrate it, because we will discuss how all these 3 things mentioned in these 3 verses, they are all useful, and each of us will have to implement them in our life. So then the question is how to integrate all 3 to live the life of a yogi. So first we will go through the verses and then we will start the discussion. So this is Bhagavad Gita 18.20. Krishna says here, Sarvabhuteshu yenekam bhavam avyayam ikshate avibhaktam vibhakteshu tajnanam viddhi satvikam. So the translation by Srila Prabhupada, that knowledge by which one undivided spiritual nature is seen in all living entities, though they are divided into innumerable forms, you should understand to be the mode of goodness. Okay, so Prabhupada talks in the purport about how a person who sees the spirit soul in every living being, devata, human being, animal, bird, and so on, he is in Sattva-guna. Right? So that's the how Prabhupada starts the purport, and he takes it in that particular direction only. We will see the rest too also, and then we will start a discussion. So in this particular chapter, we know Krishna takes each theme and he speaks it in terms of mode of goodness, passion, and ignorance, right? So Sattvagun, Rajogun, and the Tamoguna. So in the next verse, basically, Krishna says, पृथक्त्वेन तु यज्ञानं नाना भावान् पृथक् विधान् वेति सर्वेषु भूतेषु तज्ज्ञानं विद्धि राजसम्. That knowledge by which one sees that in every different body there is a different type of living entity. You should understand that in the mode of passion, right? So this is the mode of passion, to see difference like that. Okay. And then let's see verse number 22, which is the 3rd verse in the series. Yeah. So this particular verse says, Yattu kritsnavadekasmin karye shaktam ahetukam atatvaharta atatvartavad alpam cha tat tamasam udahritam. And that knowledge by which one is attached to one kind of work as the all in all, without knowledge of the truth, and which is very meager, is said to be in the mode of ignorance. Correct? So in this fashion, there are these 3 verses that talk about knowledge in Sattvagun, Rajogun, and Tamoguna. Right? So we saw the translation and given by Srila Prabhupada for all these verses. So the traditional commentary, we will go through that first, what is generally stated by all acharyas, including Prabhupada, on these 3 verses, before we go into applying these verses in more detail in our life. So Sattva Guna Jnana means to see that in every living entity there is a same type of living entity. In every person there is a same type of living entity. This is basic what Krishna has already spoken in the 5th chapter, right? Vidya Vinay Sampanne Brahmane Gavihastini Suni Cheva Sopakecha. That means you see that whether it is a dog eater, cow, elephant, Brahmana, in all of them there is the same type of living entity. you see them equally because of that vision, that equal vision. You are seeing all these entities equally. So that is Sattva Guna Jnana. So I think I've said this earlier, but I'll repeat it nevertheless, that Ramanuja in his commentary for that particular, for the first verse, 18.20, he says, he gives the traditional example of a king. Just like a king is asking his ministers, how many types of rice are grown in our kingdom in this particular season? So the ministers say that there is only one type of rice, my lord, which is grown. All farmers have grown only one type of rice. Some kolam, basmati, whatever it is. Just one type of rice is grown across the villages during this particular season. In this manner, the ministers report to the king. So the question is there literally only one grain that was produced? No, that's not the meaning, right? There were so many different types of grain. I mean, there would be quintals of rice which must have been produced by all the farmers, right? It's not that just when the minister is saying that only one type of rice is grown, it doesn't mean literally only one grain is grown. Obviously, quintals, tons of rice have been harvested, but the meaning is every particle of rice is of the same quality because the same breed, basmati, kolam, whatever was sown by the farmers. So everybody has the same harvest. So this is 18.20. You see that equality in that, right? Another example he gives is just like a milkman is a person runs a goshala and he has different color cows in it. Okay, so he has the same breed. So let's say he's having a goshala of all Gir cows. So one cow is black, one is white, one is kind of brown. So there are different colors of cows, but the milk is all one, right? Because when he milks the cow, he will milk them in one particular vessel only, and he doesn't distinguish between the milk of the black cow and the brown cow and the white cow and all that. No, because they're all of the same breed essentially, even though their colors are different and their characteristics are different. Some cow may be a little more aggressive, some cow may be mild, all that may be there, but at the same time the milk is one only. So in this way, the person who is there in Sattva, he is seeing the same type of living entity, same type of Atma situated in every living entity, right? So this is verse number 1. And such a person, his goal is moksha, like that. Now, the second person who is there, the Rajoguna person, he actually sees different living entities. So when he sees a human being, he sees a dog, a cow, etc., he is not able to appreciate that principle at all of the single Atma which is present in all. He is seeing that all these are different. The cow is different, the human is different. So because he sees like that, he comes up with such actions also. Like for example, traditionally, the king was called, the king was responsible for all praja. Praja means every living entity that was born, right? Like we see example of Maharaj Chibi, whether it is the eagle or the pigeon, he was responsible for the protection of all. But in Rajoguna, you don't see like that, right? You don't give importance to so many other living entities, etc., because you are not able to appreciate that is the same type of living entity which is situated in every body. Okay, so you see the bodies only and then you mark them all as different, and you have different policy in which you deal with each of them, right? So this is Rajoguna, that particular vision. And Tamoguna, here if you see the translation, the verse saying that one sees one kind of work as all in all, okay, and which is very meager. That means which is very low class. So most of the acharyas, what they have said in their commentary for this verse is that someone is attached to something like worshipping ghosts and pretas, etc., and one is thinking that this is the only thing in life, something very low class, which gives very, very low kind of fruit, fruit that is not really aspired by those who are very evolved. So a person looks at that only as all in all, that this is the only thing. Something which is very meager, as Prabhupada says here. And such a person doesn't have the knowledge of the truth also. So he is said to, that knowledge is said to be in the darkness. So in summary, so what is happening is in Sattva, so there are three parameters here. One is how do you see Atma? Second is how do you see the fruit? What is the fruit that you desire? And the third is what kind of karma do you do? Okay. So the difference is, so, and now there are three modes. Okay. So there are three modes: Sattvagun, Rajogun, Tamogun. And there are, you can say there are three columns. That is, how do you see Atma? How do you see your desires? And how do you do your karma? So the Sattvagun person, he sees Atma as one, his desire is moksha, and he does all types of nitya naimittika karma. That means he engages in varnashram, he is engaging in nitya naimittika karma. So to ensure that he goes towards moksha. The Rajoguna person sees Atma as different. Okay, the Sattva was seeing Atma is one. Rajoguna person sees Atma as different. As in, he sees that these are all different entities. He is not able to see the commonality between them. That is Rajoguna. He says different material fruits. So he is not interested in moksha. So his aspiration is different fruits he wants. And he also does all types of karma. The Tamoguna person, he also sees all Atmas as different. He is not able to see the commonality. Very low class fruits he desires, and he does very low type of karma, very low class kind of work he does. Example is worshipping ghost and spirit, etc. So this is how we in general understand these three verses, correct? Now the question is, so once we have this particular knowledge, which is directly coming from the Gita, we may generally feel that, hey, look, we need only sattva guna. The rajoguna, tamoguna ways of seeing things are not at all needed, etc. One may feel like that. But if you think deeply about it, each of these three modes and the knowledge that they give have a role in our life. So the Sattva-guna knowledge which is there, it is mainly talking about our constitutional nature, correct? It's talking about our constitutional nature, how you see, how one sees equality everywhere. That is constitutional nature. Rajoguna is about conditional nature, right? So this is more in terms of Varna. In Varna, you see Bheda. Simple thing, even at home, you are going to see Bheda. Suppose a person has two children at home or three children. So then you will have to see difference in each of the child. You cannot say, oh, all my children are completely equal. I will give everybody equal opportunity. No, you may not be able to do that. So let's say a person, a businessman has two children, and let us say one child is extremely talented in the business and the other one is not so talented in business. And so the father, who is a businessman, he cannot say that because equality is important, I will give half my business to one son and half to the other. No, he will have to understand, Are Baba, my second son is not at all competent in business. If I give him half the business, it will just completely get ruined only. Rather, let me give some money and wealth to my second son, and my first son, let me actually give him a lot of business so that the business grows. Right? We have seen that. Simple. I mean, if you take the example of the Ambani family, also you see this, right? So there were two sons, but one of them is very competent in business. He has gone ahead a lot, and the second one is bankrupt. Right. So the same two sons of the same family, but one is extremely competent and one is incompetent to do the business. So the father ideally must see the difference. He has to apply 18.21 Bhagavad Gita, right? He cannot say that everything is equal. No, it doesn't work. Yeah? So then you will end up ruining the whole thing only. So similarly, I mean, you can take many more examples like this. In our Varna, in the social context, one has to see the differences, right? One has to see the differences. Like I was saying once earlier, Bhaktivinoda Thakur writes in a book that when I chant the holy name, I will chant the holy name and dance along with a Muslim Vaishnava. He says, I will dance in ecstasy with a Muslim Vaishnava and so on. But if I have to give my daughter in marriage, he writes that I will not give it to that Muslim Vaishnava, because even though he is Vaishnava, in his family, the background that he comes from would not kind of sync with my family background. So it wouldn't make a sense to give the daughter over there. It's a very classic example of Bhaktivinoda Thakur, but that illustrates the difference between 18.20 and 18.21, correct? So in Kirtan, you will dance along with the Vaishnavas, irrespective of their background, because you see the constitutional identity, that oneness you see. And in Kirtan, you dance chanting the holy name, forgetting all other, external things. But then when you have to give your daughter in marriage, then that is Varna. That is at conditional level. There you cannot say that, oh, now I'm going to see everything equal. No, there is a difference, right? background matters, the parents of the boy will matter, the social context of the parent, the person will matter, everything will matter. Correct. So it's not only about Hindu or Muslim. Even if suppose somebody is a very rich Vaishnava, a lot of wealth he has, then his daughter must get married to someone of that class or higher. He cannot say that, oh, here there is a very nice devotee, very sincere, chanting 16 rounds and extremely evolved in his humility, but he stays in a slum, in a very simple, very stall kind of house he lives in. Okay, so no. So there you have to make the difference because you're giving your daughter in marriage. So you cannot there say that, oh no, I will see equal. So the equality is in the temple, in the kirtan, in the seva, everything is equal, right? In going back to Godhead, all that is fine. Okay, so that is constitutional. But then 18.21, one will have to implement at the Varna level. One cannot say over there that no. So that is why I'm saying that 18.21 you will have to implement, correct? And if you broaden it into the society, again, the same thing, right? If our Indian army soldiers, they are fighting on the border of China or Pakistan, they cannot say over there that, oh, all of us are equal over here. We are all the Atma only. This side of the border also Atma in body, that side of the border also Atma in similar bodies. So no, you have to make a difference. These are our people. These are the enemy. We have to shoot them. That is important. And this is important even if you are a devotee. Okay, so just like I'll just take an example here. So just like, Prahlad Maharaj is this very famous verses there in 7th canto, where परस्वेश्चेत् असद्ग्रह ग्राह पुंसां यत् यन्मायया कृतः विमोहित दियां दृष्टस् tasmai bhagavate namaha. Prahlad Maharaj replied, so this is in the context of Shanda and Amarka, who were teaching how to understand who is a friend, who is an enemy and all that. So Prahlad Maharaj says, let me offer my respectful obeisance to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, whose external energy has created the distinctions of my friend and my enemy by deluding the intelligence of men. Indeed, I am now experiencing this, although I have previously heard of it from authoritative sources. So again, see Prabhupada quotes from 5.18 in the purport. Right? So it's connected. So here, see what is happening here. Let's try to understand. Prahlad Maharaj was going to a school of Shanda and Amarka, and the Shanda and Amarka were teaching politics. Right? They were teaching about who is friend, who is enemy, and all that. Now, if you ask me the question, is this knowledge important for a king? Shatru Bodh, it is called. Is it important for a king to understand Shatru Bodh, that this is my enemy and this is my friend? Answer is 100% it is important. 100% it is important. Okay. So then here Prahlad Maharaj is actually mocking Sanda and Amarka that this is only what you have been teaching. Apparently kind of, telling them that this is the only understanding you have. See, the problem of Shanda and Amarka was not that they were teaching this. The problem is that they were only teaching this. Right? The idea of equality due to Atma was either not known to Shanda and Amarka, or it was not, kind of solidified in their system. Correct? So Atma Jnana was absolutely not there. They were only teaching this. So ideally, had they been teaching Atma Jnana and teaching this, both are important. See, because let's also appreciate one thing, that Prahlad Maharaj becomes a king later in life. And as a king, certainly he has to distinguish between friend and enemy. Right? Because when you're a king, no matter which yuga, Satya Yuga, Kali Yuga, Treta Yuga, any yuga, you are having enemies. King means you are having army. Why do you have army? Because you have enemies. And so it's a simple thing, right? So was this knowledge useful for Prahlad Maharaj? Of course it is useful. But Prahlad Maharaj's complaint here, if you go deeply into the verses and see the context, we can appreciate that the problem was Shanda and Amarka were completely ignorant about that 18.20 Bhagavad Gita. They were only talking in terms of 21. See, so that's where when we come back to the Bhagavad Gita, we have to understand that you have to integrate everything. One cannot say that I will take only 18.20, because even Prahlad Maharaj cannot say I will live only by 18.20 all my life. Okay, so the question is, who can say I will live by 18.20 all my life? Literally, only a person who has nothing to do with the material world can say that. Correct? So let's say someone like Madhavendra Puri, right? He is a Paramahamsa. He has absolutely, he doesn't even beg. Right? That's Madhavendra Puri's living standard. Any food that comes to his house on his own, somebody came and gave milk, he will accept it. He doesn't even go and beg. So it's a very high class renunciation that he exhibits. So he can almost always live at 18.20 Bhagavad Gita. Correct? But these are very few examples. Like another example is given of Vedanta Desika. So he was a very great 750 years ago. He was one of the greatest stalwart Sri Vaishnava acharyas. And it is said that he lived his life by unchavritti. Unchavritti means he would go house to house and beg rice and something. Rice means not cooked rice, grains, etc. And then would come home and his wife would cook, and that was it. Right? There was no stocking for the next day and all that. If you read the Bhagavatam, seventh canto later, I think that 15th chapter, ideal household life, etc. Unchavritti has been glorified a lot, right? Unchavritti. And such people would live by pichai. Pichai means to beg. In Tamil, pichai means to beg. Okay? We have Sundar Pichai, of course, he is CEO of Alphabet or Google nowadays, but his surname or the title of his family is Pichai. That means to literally beg, unchavritti. So it is said Vedanta Desika would live like that. And one day when he was begging, so some people who were giving charity to him, they felt that we should give him something nice. So they mixed gold particles in the rice and gave it to Vedanta Desika. So he comes back home and gives it to his wife. And his wife, when she's cleaning the rice, she spots these gold particles. So she tells her husband that, my dear husband, this person has given gold. So Vedanta Desika says that just along with the other stones from the rice that you just throw outside, throw this gold also. For us, it is stone only. So he was living at 18.20, very clear, seeing no difference between stone, gold, everything. Right? But such examples are very rare because most of us, when you're living in the world, you have to see a difference. You go to your office, you have to see that I'm doing work, I need a promotion. You have to see that, okay, this company is giving more money, I have to live here and go there. So the more we are at the external world level, one will need. So that's what I said. In conditional existence, you need 18.21 Bhagavad Gita. Correct? I'll give another example, a beautiful example that I heard some time ago. This is about Shankaracharya. So it is said Shankaracharya was once preaching the philosophy of how everything is illusion, which is his basic philosophy. Right? After the class was over, as he was walking, there was a mad elephant who started chasing him. So Shankara, it is said he ran and he climbed a tree. So then, after the elephant went away, someone asked him, "You were only saying that everything is illusion. Then why did you climb the tree?" So he said, "Well, it is a fact that I am illusion. The mad elephant is illusion. His chasing me is illusion, and my running and climbing the tree is also illusion." So this is the answer he gave. Of course, it may look strange with such an answer. Somebody may laugh at the impracticality of what was said. But if you look at it very deeply, what it means is Shankara had reconciled between 18.20 and 21. So his philosophy is everything is illusion. Okay. So just like the Vaishnava's philosophy is everything is Brahman. Right? Now we also say, right? The only difference is Vaishnava says everything is Brahman, they say everything is illusion. Okay. Brahman or illusion, whatever. You are giving one nomenclature to it. But the point is, you see equality. Okay. So the elephant is illusion or Brahman, however you want to look at it. I am also like that. His chasing me is also illusion, and my climbing the tree. So the point is, see, he climbed the tree. That climbing the tree is making the differentiation. Okay. So that means this 18.20 Bhagavad Gita, this is what is called as so 18.21 is application reality, correct? So when you apply things in your life, you have to see 18.21. Whereas 18.20 is an essential philosophy, right? Essential principle. So there is essential principle, there is application principle. So the beauty of Shankara, he had reconciled it. He knew the essential principle that everything is illusion, but the way you apply it, there is a difference. I climb the tree and go away from this mad elephant. Though it is also illusion or Brahman or whatever, and I am also that only. But I climb up. Right. So I make a difference over there. And that difference is 18.21, correct? Of course, there is the other story of Shankara also, where once it is said that as he was walking, he saw liquor and he says that I am Brahman, this liquor pot is Brahman, Brahman goes into Brahman, no transformation. Okay, so there he was actually showcasing 18.20, where nothing actually makes a difference to me. I remain the way I am. I'm not affected by it. Okay, and that he proved by going ahead and seeing molten iron and drinking that also, and again saying, I am Brahman, this is Brahman, Brahman goes into Brahman, no transformation. Okay, so there he showed that only he can be at 18.20 because he is Lord Shiva himself. So he can show an example of not changing in any condition. But the other example that I gave about the elephant, there he's showing 18.20 and 18.21 both in action. Correct? Both in action he's showing. Okay. Now coming to 18.22. So somebody may say, what is the role of 18.22 in life? So the answer is, see, 18.22 becomes important when it comes to work. Okay. Of course, in the traditional commentary of 18.22, we said that this is a very low work, etc., which is very meager. But again, let's try to elaborate this point. See, 18, any work which a person does in the world, most of the time we give a lot, all our time is in that work only. Correct? Like if you see all of us, right? Let's say someone is here who is a programmer. So Java programming he's doing. So almost in a day, most of the time he's going to do Java programming only. Correct? Other than chanting a couple of hours or doing something else, Java programming is going to consume maximum time of his life only. So it seems as if that is all in all for him. Correct? Now, if you see something like that, because any work which is there is done by the gross body with the five senses, it generally will be very meager only. Correct? Like, for example, if you see Arjuna. So, what was Arjuna doing all his childhood? He was shooting arrows, he was practicing Dhanurdhar. Whole night he was sitting and shooting arrows. Correct? Now, if you see what is shooting arrows or what is that knowledge of shooting arrows in comparison with, the whole cosmos and all the knowledge that exists, it's just one small aspect of life that is fighting a war. And in that, there is another small aspect which is fighting with bow and arrow, and that only is practicing. Correct? So, any work which a person engages in, generally you have so much absorption in it, or you are forced to be so absorbed in it, even though it may be something very small in the context of the entire cosmos, but all your time goes in that. Correct? And most of the time when you are doing that work, you forget everything else also, what is the truth, etc. Or another example we give, just like a young boy who is 17-year-old in India, he's preparing for an entrance exam like some IIT JEE. It's something as such, if you see, that knowledge is very meager. It's this, what is it? Physics, chemistry, and math of that JEE that you're studying. Most of the time, even that boy is not going to implement anything in life, right? He does engineering in some IIT and later he's working in some stock program. He's writing code to do day trading or something like that. So it's a very, very meager knowledge, but he is attached, he is focused completely in that as if that is only all in all in life. Now, if you ask the question, is it necessary for a person to do like that? The answer is yes, in some sense, because in this world, any work that you do, you are forced to be completely absorbed in it. Otherwise, you will not get any success. If Arjuna wouldn't have been shooting day in and day out, he wouldn't have become the great Dhanurdhar that he was. Or a student, he's studying something, agreed, that may not be the greatest knowledge in the world, but at that point of time he has to do that only, as if all in all, forgetting everything else, literally. Correct? Only then he's going to achieve success in life, and later he can do something. So the point is, the nature of work in the material world is such that one is forced to be involved in it very, very deeply, as if that is all in all, right? Which is also fine. The problem is if somebody does that completely forgetting the previous two. Okay, so it is said that it is seen rather in the world that many people who are very talented in their work, or they were very successful in their work, turned out to be social misfits. As in, the person was a big scientist or a musician, whole day and night, years and years, decades of his life he was doing only his work, but then he had a very dysfunctional family. He didn't know how to relate to his wife and children also. He was failure on many other fronts. I'm not saying everybody is like that, but there are many such examples you will see in the world. What that indicates is a person went completely into 18.22 Bhagavad Gita, where he was only thinking about that work as all in all, and he forgot everything else completely. Correct? So that is a problem, right? So that's why we were saying yoga means to reconcile. All three are important. You need 18.20 Bhagavad Gita in your constitutional identity, like the way Prahlad prays in the Srimad Bhagavatam. You need 18.21 Bhagavad Gita, like Bhaktivinoda Thakur says, when you are giving your daughter in marriage. And you need 18.22 Bhagavad Gita when, like Arjuna, you are practicing Dhanurdhar Vidya, and you are only shooting a day and night, you are doing the same thing, shooting arrows, which is which is apparently, very small, insignificant part of the entire universal knowledge and cosmos. But you're focusing on that as if that is all in all, right? So all three are important. One for your constitutional identity, one for your interaction in the world, and one in your work in this world. And the person who can balance all three of them, he is called as a yogi. Correct. Now, we'll give some more examples to elaborate this, why that balance is needed or what happens if a balance is not there. So, for example, just like, let's give an example. Generally, you will see this, that if someone is a doctor, like many girls are there who are doctors, if you ask them, whom will you marry? They generally say, I want doctor only as my husband. If you see very carefully, their demand or their requirement is not unjust. They say also that we are a doctor, our whole life and work is only about treating patients, and we have night shift, this, that. Unless our husband also is a doctor, especially for girls, they say that if husband is a doctor, he can understand our lifestyle and he can be supportive. But if he's not and he's some other profession, he will not be able to appreciate it at all. Which, if you see carefully, such a girl who says this is correct. But they're following 18.22 Bhagavad Gita at that point of time. The problem is if they are adamant about it for many, many years despite not getting the husband. That means, let's say the same girl, she starts looking for a husband as a doctor, but after 6, 7 years also, she never got a doctor husband, right? But she's still saying that no, I will, if I marry, if at all I'll marry only doctor husband. Otherwise, I don't want totally marriage. Then at that point of time, what has happened is she has forgotten to apply previous concepts of Bhagavad Gita, right? She has forgotten to apply 18.21 Bhagavad Gita. No, you have to see difference. It's not that a doctor is the only profession in the world and that's the only most valuable thing to do. Just whole life you will keep treating patients as if that's the all in all of life. No, you need to have a family. You need to appreciate other professions also. You have to come up. You have to come up in your understanding that okay, this is not only my work. In society, many things are there. Many aspects of life are there in which I have to be a success. Not that I'm a doctor, then only that is the most important thing, right? So person has to come up. If you don't come up and you are stuck only at 18.22 and you decide that, even if I'm Kumari, it is okay, but I will not marry someone not a doctor, then that means something has gone terribly wrong. Correct. Similarly, if you look at 18.20 and 21 also, I came across this amusing example, just sharing with everyone here. So there was a devotee who was a preacher, right? So there was a devotee, who was doing some Bhakti Vaibhav course. Okay, he was teaching. So he had one student in his class who was a Maharashtrian lady. So she was connected to devotees and she was coming for the classes. So once or twice she started bringing her husband also to the class, though her husband was not ISKCON devotee. So he also started coming to the class. And when he started coming, he started hearing from the preacher the importance of 16 rounds of chanting. Obviously, the preacher was talking about 16 rounds of chanting Hare Krishna Mahamantra. But this man who had come along with his wife to the class, he belonged to another Datta Sampradaya, Dattatreya in Maharashtra, and he was chanting a Datta mantra. So when he heard from the preacher the importance of 16 rounds, he thought that let me chant 16 rounds of Datta mantra now. Because he liked this whole principle of chanting 16 rounds. So he thought that, Areva, 16 rounds, it would be so nice if my Datta mantra is start chanting. He started like that. Right. So the preacher, when he came to know that by his class of importance of chanting 16 rounds, there was one fellow in the audience who happened to be the husband of a devotee who decided to, practice 16 rounds of his own Datta Sampradaya mantra. The preacher was also a little bit taken aback. Arey, what has happened? I was trying to inspire people for 16 rounds of Hare Krishna Mahamantra, but this guy has started his own 16 round of Datta mantra chanting. Right. So the preacher was a little bit taken aback. But how do you see this? Now, if you see this very carefully, see, 18.20 we have to apply even as an organization, right? 18.20 as an organization means, okay, in our organization, within our practice, we will value chanting of japa of Hare Krishna, correct? But you have to see an equality with various other sampradayas also. I mean, may not so much be Datta because it may not be, the most, what shall I say, Vaishnava sampradaya, etc. But whatever. you have to see a oneness with other sampradayas also, in a way that, okay, yeah, these people are also practicing some spirituality. Of course, in Datta's case, it is Dattatreya is also considered an incarnation of Brahma, Vishnu, Mahesh. But you have to see a oneness and appreciate that, okay, this person is doing. There, you cannot always apply a Bheda, correct? So this also happens sometimes. I had a very a relative who's a 70-year-old man in Pune. So he's a Sri Vaishnava initiated person. He would go to one of our ISKCON centers because he would like the program, Kirtan and all that. He would go there. So this person was already initiated in Sri Vaishnava Sampradaya, and he has his own practice. I know him very well. But one of our devotees, he caught him. I mean, he met him, and he started telling him that, hey, no, look, you have to practice this path only of Hare Krishna. This is the highest, and what you're practicing. This is fine, all these things, but this is the highest. You should, So what I'm saying is, sometimes as a preacher or as a someone spreading the message, we fail to apply 18.20 even when we see other Vaishnavas. As in, we fail to see an equality over there. We fail to see that, okay, we are practicing something. Someone else is also a bona fide Vaishnava in another Sampradaya. He's practicing. So let me appreciate that. But sometimes that feeling is there, no, that this is the most highest thing, this is the superior, this is the top class thing. And everybody, only if they come here, then only they are going to benefit in the highest possible way. So there we are seeing too much Beda, right? We are seeing a Beda, we are seeing a difference, right? So there we are not seeing a unity in it. So in organization, by the way, is all about Beda only. Because in organization, it is about Beda, right? So for example, ISKCON, we're an organization, Gaudiya Mutt, another organization. So we cannot say that we will allow a Gaudiya Mutt speaker to come and give class in our temple. There you see a Beda, right? But 18.20 asks you to see equality. So in your personal life only you can practice that 18.20 actually. Because even in a temple setting, which is a social place, you are forced to practice 18.21 only. But at least in your heart of heart, you must practice 18.20. Because when we don't practice that also, what happens is we we basically are not even able to appreciate other sects of Vaishnavas or other sects practicing spirituality, even bona fide spirituality in a way. And sometimes our preachers, we go into an attacking mode, saying that no, he's fallen, there is some mistake in what he's doing, this and that, as if we want to say. So this is a challenge. And now again, I'll give another example. I'll give a counterpoint also. So there's nothing wrong in it to understand that organization means Beda, right? 18.20 is Abheda. 18.21 is Beda. Organization Beda will be there. Correct. Now, just to extrapolate the example that I gave, let's say that same Maharashtrian devotee who started coming to the Bhakti Vaibhav class and started chanting 16 rounds of Datta Mantra. Suppose if he's practicing himself that chanting, that is fine. But suppose if he comes to our temple and he starts preaching about his Datta Mantra 16 round chanting to other people in the temple, that's a problem, right? There, because there that Veda is there. We have a very clear purpose of a temple, our own programs, etc., where we want to inspire people to practice sadhana in a very specific way, right? Okay, this person can practice what he wants. Okay, as an individual, I have to appreciate him. There, I cannot do the Veda and think that he is fallen. No, I have to appreciate that. Yes, he is practicing some spirituality which is connected to Veda Sampradaya only. Okay, he is also going to advance. So there, I have to see a Veda or a equality. But at the same time, the Veda will have to be kept, as in he cannot be allowed to preach his thing within our community, etc. Correct. So the point is, each of these verses, if you carefully see 20, 21, and 22 that we discussed, it has a relevance in our life, right? It has a relevance. We cannot say that I'm going to look at only one of it and the other I will not look. In fact, if you see carefully, even like for example, another example of the 18.22 Bhagavad Gita is Daksha Prajapati, classic example from Srimad Bhagavatam, 6th canto. Correct. Daksha Prajapati was engaged in his job was to create offspring. Correct. Prajapati, create progeny. But he got attached to that work as if all in all. See, yes, creating praja is a very important aspect of creation. Correct. Recently, our RSS chief also said that every Hindu must have 3 children. Why? It is very important because unless every couple have enough children, then the demography is not going to change it will be very unidirectional. Only the fellows who are having too many children, they will eventually control and destroy your Sanskriti also. So having praja is a very important thing. But at the same time, see, the problem of Daksha was not that he was engaged in having progeny. The problem was that he thought of it as all in all. He thought that this is the only thing important. He could not appreciate Narada Muni's teachings only. He felt that this person is simply, he's talking things which are completely deviated my children, this, that. So basically, that's what happens when you get so caught up in only your work as the only thing to be done, where you have no appreciation for someone else's work. And it can happen the other way also. Like, for example, there may be today a modern follower of Narad Muni who may be preaching very strongly that everybody should become a sannyasi. I mean, there are people. We saw sannyasis also who posted, classes on YouTube saying that no young man should get married. Correct? So you have taken that task of making everybody a monk as the all in all thing without any appreciation for anything else. I mean, so that is also a problem. Okay. So the point is that balance is so difficult if you see. So it's a very fine thing. How you balance your internal understanding, how you balance your social understanding, how you balance your work. All three, when balance is there, you're yogi. If you fall off balance, then we are God. Okay. So generally, if you see, right, the the any kind of devotion to a deity has to be singular. Okay, so that is understandable. Just like if you see Tukaram Maharaj, it is said Tukaram Maharaj in one particular Abhanga, he writes something like I've just noted that off. Just give me a second, right? Yeah, he says Akrala Vikrala Laddu Modakacha. So that means he basically, he kind of uh, it's a kind of joke he makes in terms of the Ganesh worship. He's saying Akrala Vikrala, form is kind of not very regular or well shaped, but a person likes to eat lot of laddus. Okay, so he's kind of pulling the leg, you can say, of Lord Ganesh in a jest, not in a very offensive way, in a jest. Okay, why he does that? Because he's an unalloyed devotee of Vithala. Okay, so because of that unalloyed devotee of Vithala, he is unable to see that how people are, giving up this worship of such a beautiful form of Vittal and going behind all these devatas. But again, if you notice very carefully, the same Tukaram Maharaj, he has offered verses glorifying Ganesh to remove obstacles before he writes his own Abhangas. If you see, all acharyas have done that. As I was reading Sridhara Swami's commentary on Srimad Bhagavatam, I noticed how in every canto, Sridhara Swami begins the canto by saying Sri Ganeshaya Namaha on top. He writes Sri Ganeshaya Namaha and then he begins the commentary. Because Sridhara Swami is commenting on Srimad Bhagavatam, which is Amalam Puranam, which is the Purana talking about unalloyed love for Krishna, all that is fine. But how can you avoid Ganesh ji, right? Because he is the Vigna, right? Now Ganesh season is there, right? The 10-day Ganesh worship. He is Vigna Harta. He is going to remove your obstacles. So integration to karna hi padega, right? Even if you are individually focused on a particular deity, as if all in all, you will have to integrate socially. You will have to see that no, that is also important only. Correct? You will have to see that. One cannot say that that is not at all important for me and so on. So in this way, whether it is the essential principle of 18.20, the application principle of 18.21, or the work principle of 18.22, all three are needed in our life. And if we kind of are unable to balance in some way between these three, we actually make mistakes, right? We will actually land in some kind of trouble for sure. It is completely unavoidable. So in fact, if you see carefully, right, even if you see great devotees like Rupa, Sanatan, etc., who were very, very, if you see Rupa Goswami, Sanatan Goswami's bhajan, it was so focused and so much of equality. It was, I mean, they were in their inner meditation. There was no difference between body and soul only. As in, literally, they would have vision of Krishna coming chasing tiger away from Raghunath Das, or Radharani coming with a sari cloth to cover the head of Raghunath Das when he's meditating on Radha Kund, correct? So Goswamis had that type of vision, which indicated that they were beyond 18.20 also, as in though they were in physical apparent bodies in the material world, but it was completely spiritualized, where it was all one only. They were seeing entire Vraja as the spiritual world only, and it was the spiritual world for them. That's why, I mean, tomorrow's Radhashtami. That's why I'm saying this famous story is there of Sanatan Goswami, where he sees Raghunath Das sitting on Radha Kund, and Radharani was holding a sari over his head to protect him from the sun, and Radharani was sweating. And Sanatan Goswami told Raghunath Das that, hey, look, you need to make a bhajan kutir for yourself. You should not sit like that, because we should not take service from Radha and Krishna. So they were at such a level of understanding, which was everything was one, right, for them. As in the whole Vraj was just a spiritual world. It was not the district of Mathura in the land of India or anything. It was just a spiritual world completely transformed, and in that spiritual realm, everything is considered one only. By the way, right? There is a oneness. There is an abheda in that. Every particle of dust is valuable. It's chintamani and so on. But the same Goswami, Sanatan Goswami, it is said, when he would come out of that meditation, he would walk in Vraja, he would talk to the villagers, he would talk to them about getting their daughters married at the right time. He would ask them about their backache or some problems they are facing, suggest some medicines to them, and so on, which indicates that when you are interacting in the world, that Veda has to be seen. You have to see these differences. You have to suggest according to the correct situation of a person, correct, according to the varna and so on. Okay, so it is so that's why even if you see Lord Chaitanya, we'll end with this point and then take questions. If you see Lord Chaitanya also, when he was preaching, correct, Mahaprabhu's preaching was very different, in the sense that he was giving the essence of Krishna to everyone, right? He was traveling around and just giving essence of Krishna to everyone. But even when he was giving that essence of Krishna to everyone, he did acknowledge that in some cases, people would have their own system and they would want to follow that. So, just to give you a very specific example, when Mahaprabhu went to Varanasi and preached to Prakashananda Saraswati and his followers, we all know that Mahaprabhu defeated Prakashananda Saraswati's wrong understanding of Vedanta Sutra, the Advaita understanding, and gave the Vaishnava understanding to him. Okay. And he gave him faith in the holy name and so on. But at the end of the day, let's all remember that Prakashananda Saraswati and followers continued to belong to Shankara school. Correct? See, that's a very important point, right? It is not that Prakashananda Saraswati and his followers, they destroyed the Shankara Mata only and put Mahaprabhu's picture over there. No, externally, there was no change. They understood this. There is a verse also in CC. I'm just taking a look at the 7:136. So Prakashananda Saraswati is saying this to Lord Chaitanya. Acharya kalpite artha iha sabajani sampradaya anurode tabutahamani. He's saying that we understand very well that Shankaracharya has imagined this particular philosophy of Vedanta and told us, but sampradaya anurode, for the sake of our party, we still follow what he tells us. See, please remember that externally that change was not there. As in, they continued what they were doing. And Mahaprabhu also appreciated it. Mahaprabhu did not say that, hey, come on, I have already defeated you, so you have to, completely, change overnight, change your whole mutt only in our name. Or no, it was not like that. In their hearts, that Vaishnavism was given. Correct? That faith in Krishna's holy name, all that was awarded to Prakashananda Saraswati in their heart of hearts, but they continued to practice what they were doing. They were, external things were the same. Because see, if you see all these sampradayas, right, it's ultimately about that essence. Correct? One can be in Advaita Sampradaya externally and still be a great devotee of Krishna, because Advaita Sampradaya doesn't tell you that you should not chant Krishna's name or anything. They have that one wrong understanding they have, that Krishna's body is of Maya, etc. But if you remove that understanding, whatever Shankaracharya gave as practice was nothing but reading the Veda, doing worship of the deity, having a Ishta Devata, and you can have Krishna as your Ishta Devata, nobody stops you, and worshipping him. Correct? So that small but very critical change was done by Lord Chaitanya to Prakashananda Saraswati and his followers, by giving them that faith in the name of Krishna, by teaching them the Vaishnava understanding of Vedanta. All that was done. but externally nothing changed. So this is again indicating that Mahaprabhu appreciated that Veda also, right? Because that 18.21 Gita, because they belong to a particular school. That school they couldn't change overnight, right? They belong to that school. They couldn't just demolish their whole matha and kind of do anything. There is no historic record that something like that happened. And as Prakashanand Saraswati is saying in this verse, Sampradaya Anurode, for the sake of our party or Sampradaya, we follow whatever he says. We accept what you're saying is correct. But, externally we cannot change, etc. So this is also very much to be appreciated, right? So as in like that, right? So if you see carefully, so we'll just summarize, right? We'll just summarize and then I'll take questions. So our topic today was about 18.20, 21, 22 Bhagavad Gita. We said 18.20 Bhagavad Gita focuses on seeing the oneness, the abheda, as an essential principle of life. 18.21 Bhagavad Gita speaks of the Veda, speaks of seeing the difference. And 18.22 Bhagavad Gita talks about that singular focus on only one work, which may be very meager and insignificant in comparison to everything else. But then the person who is doing that has to unfortunately see that only as his own thing. Otherwise, he cannot really achieve a lot of success in what he says. So we our whole talk today was that yes, 18.20 is our goal. That is the journey of the Atma to reach that place. Like Prahlad Maharaj is praying, I don't want to see anybody as my friend and enemy. I want to see equality among all living entities. So that is the goal, right? That is the essential principle. But we need 18.21 to apply. I gave the example of Bhaktivinoda Thakur, right? Bhaktivinoda Thakur, because for the daughter's marriage, you have to see the difference. There you cannot say that I will give it to any devotee. No, you have to see a difference and find an appropriate boy only for your daughter. Correct. And 18.23, 22 Bhagavad Gita is essential for your work, because in your work you need tallinata. Tallinata means that singular focus, as if that is all in all. Correct. So all three have their use, and we gave several examples. Correct. So how someone, how a spiritualist, how even we have to see all spiritual organizations. Also, we have to see some kind of equality there, because organizations generally tend to operate on Bheda only principle. We are different, we are the best. Every organization feels like that. Let me tell you, it's not only we feel like that. Every organization feels like that, and they have their own valid reasons also why they feel. If you go to Madhua and you ask him, if you go to Ramanuja and ask him, they will have 100 ways of convincing how what they are saying that is the ultimate truth and that is the most perfect. And it's not so easy to say. See, so it is not like that. We cannot simply imagine that they have all been defeated. No, it is never like that. Correct. So in an organization level, that Bheda is there. And we gave several examples of that also. But in terms of Nishtha, it is very singular, like work, etc. Right? One is very focused in something. We gave several examples, whether it is Shankaracharya or whether it is, a doctor, or so many other examples also we gave. And ultimately we said that, see, you need all three, right? Otherwise, right, we are not balanced in life. Right. So let's take some questions, if any, and before we end the day. Yeah, so whoever has questions can go ahead. Once again, let me just see whose hand is it. Yes, Mithun in the web row, please go up. Please go ahead.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji, Dandvat Pranam. Thank you, Prabhuji. We did the 18th chapter earlier also. So this is like a nice recall of all those points. Prabhuji, in recently in my office conversation with some of my colleagues, a group of them actually, they stated that ISKCON Bhagavad Gita is different than other Gitas. Other people Gitas follow one message and our Gita follows one message. And then the call outs were that we are not even seeing great personalities like Lord Shiva uh, at any level, and it's only the one message where we say Krishna is all in all. So that word actually, synced with the points which we discussed today. Of course, we, with our capacity and knowledge, how we tackle it. Definitely, I tackled that point there, with the larger forum, not hurting any egos. Because 18.66 is at least 99% of our society follows in 18.66, all in all. So what is your viewpoint on that? I know it's a very broad subject, we have
Yeah.
discussed it three times before, but just to like give it 30 seconds, 40
Yeah, yeah,
seconds.
very, very good, very good. Thank you for asking that. It's valid here because, see, as I said, 18.20 is the essential principle. Now, if you see Prabhupada's message, na, by and large, it is focusing on essential principle. See, that's how Prabhupada wrote. He focused on the essential principle. Essential principle is 18.20 in the context of 2021-22. Correct?
Yes.
So by and large, Prabhupada's focus was on that essential principle only throughout his teachings. That is why you will see a very singular focus on one thing.
Mm.
Because that's what he wanted to hit on. And
Right.
rightly so. See, Prabhupada always would say, I have very less time. I'm an old man. I don't have much time. And
Mm.
he had gone to a foreign country. Even if you see Varnashram, etc., Prabhupada didn't go into establishing that. See, only when you go into establishing Varnashram, you have to use 18.21 Bhagavad Gita.
Mhm.
See, if you see ISKCON also in the 1960s and 1970s, you see any video, it is all oneness. All men and women are wearing same dress. Everyone is
Mm.
wearing saffron only.
Yep.
सब लोग saffron पहने, no variety only in sari also.
Yeah.
Lemon and green. No, every I've seen many videos. All are wearing saffron, or all children also. Everybody is same dress. Everything is one.
Yeah.
Literally 18.20 he implements in that sense. See, but then again, that didn't sustain, na, as in, see, because society needs it, because there are different types of people. Everybody cannot handle that same one thing. Correct.
Yes.
See, Prabhupada gave one lifestyle for everybody. Becoming a devotee between 1966 and 77 means coming to the temple and stay. There was no other understanding. ये ऐसा नहीं कि you are going to an IT job in Hyderabad and you are also a devotee. There was nothing like that in those days.
Yep.
Prabhupada's all teachings by and large are focusing on that essential principle, and rightly so. Okay. So see, now the problem that happens is, or see, so we have to appreciate what Prabhupada did, because he took the essence and gave it. Because see, someone has to hold the essence also, no, and say that, hey, look, this is the most important thing. Okay. But then the challenge that happens is when we as ISKCON devotees, when we fail to appreciate that, hey, look, you know, we have to give credentials. Simple example, even in the Bhagavad Gita, as you rightly pointed out, other than 18.66 is Karma Yoga also.
Yeah.
Now, if you see Prabhupada's commentary in Karma Yoga chapter also, he's talking only about Krishna consciousness in that, correct? Many people say that also.
Yes.
He doesn't, he talks that only there. In
Yeah.
every page you open, because he's taking that essential principle and hitting it. Correct? And rightly
Yep.
so. But then
Yes.
to say that nothing else exists is also a problem. So, as preachers of Gita, we have to understand that no. So, I think what we need to tell people is we need to tell them that, hey, look, our Guru, he emphasized on that essential principle because this is where it's all taking you to. Everything is ultimately taking you there. But in that journey, what is needed, that is also told in Bhagavad Gita.
Yeah.
Okay? The everything, the karma yoga, everything is told in Gita. Okay, so though our teacher in his book may have not written so much about that because of whatever that particular circumstance in which that whole explanation has been done, but yes, we have to take that also as a lesson, right? We cannot
Yeah.
say that is not at all important. See, when we say that, then again we do a mistake of acting as if only 18.20 Bhagavad Gita is important for us, that equality,
Mm.
where actually in our life also we cannot implement it.
Yeah. So, Prabhuji, my second point is going towards that. So, there are three platform or capacities at which we have to operate in terms of knowledge. Now, do we, with respect to the ashram status, we basically go or climb from 1822 circumstantial to 1820 by the age of 70 when we are in an advanced ashram? Something like that. Because I've seen devotees literally have blasted on me when I gave somebody a suggestion, why going to brahmachari ashram, all in all concept, right? That also, right? But somebody saying, I will, just like the example you gave, I'll marry only a doctor. Then some people say, I'll only marry a devotee, but in my caste, but in my income class, but in my terms of, a perfect groom or a bride. And I have seen some cases 7 8 years in waiting. So do, do we apply the three platforms graduating through the stages of life?
I would say that externally, yes, because externally what you're saying is correct. Like Sannyas Ashram is mainly about 18.20 Gita, where Sannyas Ashram is taken at the age of 75, right? Like you're saying. So at that point of time, externally, yes. But I would say internally, you have to cultivate all these right from like Prahlad Maharaj is 5 year old, correct? But
Yes.
18.20 is very much in his heart. He is not going to see a difference between Asura, Deva, enemy, friend. But
Yep.
that didn't mean that when he became a king, he was a very impractical king. No,
Yep.
you can't. There's no, I mean, you can't. Any devotee king also, whether Yudhishthir Maharaj or any Maharaj, they have a big army. They have
Yep.
security. They have to see somebody as a transgressor, somebody has to be shot out. So they were very practical also. So the point is, there is an internal journey also. That internal journey is independent of age. Correct.
Mm.
Somebody in a
Mm.
very young age also, internally we can grow a lot. We can actually, I mean, there is no one stopping us in our internal growth towards Krishna. Like, right, our own
Understood.
internal attachment to the holy
Yes.
names. When we are chanting daily, we are chanting, not 2 hours, we are doing japa
Mm.
with our
Mm.
mala. you know that internal journey that we are having, nobody is stopping us there. And we will have to implement that equality also,
Yeah.
time to time also. I mean, the
So,
simple
Prabhuji,
example,
yeah.
this
So,
dog thing that was there, na stray dog incident. I
yeah,
mean,
yeah, yes, yes, yes.
you have to see
Precisely.
equality. See, I mean, at the end of the day, some people see, it's also very, it's a very Western approach. You take all the dogs and you dog them off. So you can't do that, right? I mean, ultimately they are existing. Yes,
Mm. Mm.
some people get rabies. That problem is there. We have to solve it. So yeah, so we'll have to implement it also. So all three
Prab-
are important, but
Prabhuji, so
internally what we're
connected
doing is
point
correct. Yeah.
to that, like I myself, in a management position, we have to criticize because we analyze based on our experiences. We have to challenge others' experiences and knowledge, and then we criticize by reverting others' point of views, right?
Yes.
We hurt egos, we naturally create enemies, then one
That
has
is all
to
Rajoguna.
keep.
That is all passion. Yeah,
Yeah.
needed.
So one has to keep oneself on that 18.22 forcefully, or for the livelihood
Yes.
purpose, or whatever. Krishna is saying that whatever work you are doing, it's not imperfect, right? So that should not become an inherent nature. So I
Yes.
know we are practicing the 3 hours. Anything related to, like, for example, sometimes I've seen devotees practicing that they see, or visualize. We heard one devotee sometime back that he was saying that I try to see that, there is Shirodakshay Vishnu in everybody, or there is a Paramatma sitting there, right? So how do we actually inculcate that point, or some areas of scripture we have to read to inculcate this?
Yeah, see, besides sadhana, there are some other practices also which the Vedic culture expects from grihasthas, like feeding.
Hmm.
Like Prabhupada's, that conversation is also there. The most important duty for a grihastha is to 3 times clap and call anybody and give them food. See, that was not just said as a joke. It is actually a very serious thing. That
Mhm.
whole concept of feeding, which is there in family life, it is to incorporate that 18.20 in your word. See, because see, by nature as a family, we get too involved in 21 and 22 only. We are seeing differences and we are just focused selfishly in our own work. That is obvious and that is necessary also. But some levels of that 18.20 is inculcated by that, that whole thing of giving food to the animals, to,
Mhm.
give food to people,
Understood.
basically that charity, giving. See, that giving is a very important principle for a grahastha to incorporate 18.20 practically.
But
Because
we did a drama, Prabhuji, in our time, that Manav Seva is not Manav
no, no,
Seva.
see that again. See, we are stretching that. See, now I'll tell you one thing. I mean, I was just intrigued by this. If you see Bhagavatam, fifth canto story of Rantidev. Rantidev was a Vaishnava, correct?
Yeah.
He was fasting for 48 days and he got a plate of food and water. And one by one, people started coming. Who all came? Shudra comes. One man with a pack of dogs comes. One Chandala comes asking, "Arey, I want food right now." He's giving each of them. And there is a prayer, beautiful prayer in fifth canto, ninth canto, sorry, where Rantidev says that I beg, when the last drop of water also he has given away to the dogs, the Chandala, he says that I pray that every life I get the opportunity to experience to share whatever I have with the poor and those who don't have something, and to experience that joy of sacrificing from my side and at my own expense, to satisfy the needs of other. Come on, what a prayer that is. And he's a Vaishnava, ninth
Yes, Prabhuji.
category.
Yes, Prabhuji.
And he's not, and see, later only in the story it is revealed that all those dogs are devatas.
Yeah,
In the
Devtas. Yes.
beginning,
Yes.
nothing is told. They are just
Yes.
ordinary chandal only. Not that a devotee chandal had come with a tilak and all that. Right?
Yeah.
The ordinary chandal only who comes. But he
Yeah.
gives.
Mm.
See, so again in that Manav Seva, Madhav Seva, what happens now? See, we have taken that to another extreme. See, one extreme of Manav Seva, Madhav Seva, Madhav is not important only. Only Manav, Manav, Manav. Which is
Yeah.
what some of our political leaders started saying. But in trying to oppose that, what has happened unconsciously, some of our preachers may have gone on the other side. That Manav Seva is not at all important.
Yeah.
Correct. Only see, how do you show your love for Madhav? By you have to serve Manav only na, around you. Come on, you
Yeah.
can't you
Yeah.
can't
Correct, Prabhuji.
defeat that completely. So Grihastha Dharma is to serve everybody. You
Yes,
know,
Prabhuji.
yeah. So I think that this is again it's a balance. So what happens? See, the nature of the world is that when someone goes off balance, in trying to respond to that, we take other extreme only. To counteract it.
Yep.
And yeah, yeah, Haribol. Yeah,
Haribol. Thank you, bro.
yeah. Yeah, anybody else has any other question? I don't know who's having question. Yeah. Brajendra Kumar, bro. Yeah, go ahead. If you have a question.
Haribol, Dandat Prabhuji.
Dandavad.
Prabhuji, you talked about Bhakti Vinod Thakur saying something about dancing with Muslim Vaishnava and that. So in which book he says that?
I forgot. It's either Jeva Dharma or Chaitanya Shikshamrit. One of it is there. But it is there for sure. It is there for sure. He says this. It's either Chaitanya Shikshamrit or Jeva Dharma. One of it. I don't recall which of it, but one of it he says. He says this.
Okay.
Varna.
Prabhuji, one more thing about 18.20 you're saying, where one sees only soul in everyone.
Yeah.
So in Bhagavatam, one episode comes that Dhruva has two sons, and his elder son is acting like Jadabharat. So the ministers become worried who will become the next king because they see a disqualification in him. So they make the younger son as the next king after Dhruva.
Okay. Yeah.
So that is also one of the examples that came to my mind.
Yeah. The difference you have to see only. Without that, you cannot. Yeah. Okay. Thank you. Vaibhavanand, bro, go ahead.
Thank you, Prabhuji. My question is that Varnashram Dharma, there is a lot of differentiation. People claim that you have such a problem with Jati system. They say hundreds of things that within Jatis, one Jati is outrightly not given the opportunity to study, let us say. So they have introduced this equality, saying that equal opportunity should be given across the Jatis and not just by birth. Now, today we find that, the birth is completely neglected. And I think Puri Shankaracharya also does not like Prime Minister because he is not from the, this higher, Kshatriya Jati, and he's ruling India. So, there is a mismatch and there is a need to present it to the modern world. So, how do we reconcile this? How do we answer
See,
these
again,
questions?
see, that's what, na? See, both are important. Both perspectives are important. See, 18.20 tells us to see equality in everybody, give equal chance to all. It teaches us, and our Upanishads also have followed it. Right? We have the story of that Satyakama who comes to the Guru and he says that I am a son of a prostitute. And the Rishi accepts him as a Brahmana in his Gurukul. That story is there. We see the example of Karna in the Mahabharata, who is publicly known as a Shudra son only, but he's accepted as a Kshatriya. Nobody challenged Karna as not a Kshatriya. So that equality, that thing that let me give equal opportunity to all is there in 18.20 Bhagavad Gita. But 18.21 Bhagavad Gita reminds us that you have to see difference also. Because background makes a difference. And we have discussed this many times. We have discussed this so many times. Despite all the reservation policies in India, if you see carefully, in all IITs and IIMs and all the dropouts of the reserved category is very high. Dropout rate. It is
Yeah.
disproportionately high. Right? See, no, so
But
what has
is this
happened?
kind of
Unfortunately,
intelligence,
yeah, see,
Shastras?
unfortunately, what happens is that our the political fellows like this Rahul Gandhi and such people, what they are doing is they are unnecessarily creating hatred in people for the Traivarnikas, which is not needed. Right? See, because you are born in a particular background, you will inherit that quality na, of your parents. How will that not happen? So that is bound to happen. So you cannot stop a person from growing. Okay. So equal opportunity is fine also. Again, see, we cannot see. Ideally, we would love to have a Kshatriya as a king who has a wife and all that. Okay, so you may say that our current Pradhan Mantri doesn't fit, but I think that's again, you're taking it, some people, whoever you quoted, they're taking it too much to the extreme. See, everything cannot be very ideal. You have to
Yeah.
see what is there and work with it. So see, 80, so that's why, see, Bhagavad Gita is a brilliant book. It talks about that equality also, and it talks about Veda also. Both are there. Equal opportunity to all also must be given, and our Shastras have accepted it. Nobody, I mean, this whole thing of saying that only Savitribai Phule was the first lady who started female education, come on, it's all humbug. Even historically, it is humbug in the last 1,000 years. What to speak of if you go into our Vedic times? Correct.
Mhm.
So that's all nonsense. It's never that women were not educated or no, it's all nonsense. I mean, there are recordings of that book also, which is there of, I forgot that, Ramaniya Vriksha, which talks about various gurukuls in India in the 18th century, how all jatis were present and so on. See, it's not like that. But some education, some people will excel in it. And that is there even today. Even in the Western world, it is there. The Jews are doing exceptionally well in banking and finance. How can you stop it? Are they have that in their blood, man? The money understanding. Brilliant guys there. Can you say the Mexican, the South American, the Hispanic, all should be given equal opportunity like a Jew in banking and finance sector in New York? नहीं होने वाला है. 99% of banking and finance is controlled by those guys only. What equality will you do? Because background makes a difference. The guy coming from South America and all that kind of a background, rarely some intelligent fellow may be there in it. If he comes, it's fine. But by and large, you cannot. So the point is, see, Bhagavad Gita reconciles. And when we also don't reconcile, we become a problem. On one hand, we should never say that we should not give opportunity, because then we are violating 18.20. At the same time, if we say that background makes no difference, no matter which family you are born, all are equal, अरे come on, whom are you fooling? ऐसा तो होता नहीं है practically. Are you getting it?
Mhm.
So both have
Yeah.
to be accommodated. See, Gita accommodates both. The problem is we also cannot take only one thing, right? Sometimes this caste bashing also becomes such so strong that you want to bash all born Brahmins, saying that hey, you're wearing only 25 paise thread, this that. ऐसा नहीं है. You have to see the life of Brahmins. They've genuinely worked very hard. Even today, Brahmins have worked very
Correct.
hard. Born Brahmins have worked very hard to maintain Vedic culture and so on and so forth. There are quotes of Christian preachers who said that had it not been for the Brahmin population of India, we would have converted entire India to Christianity. There are quotes
Mm.
like that also available, which basically goes to say that background is there. Baba, background has to be appreciated. You cannot discard it. But opportunity is also there. So we accept it. Tukaram Maharaj, he doesn't come from any Brahmin family or anything. But all Vaishnavas, Brahmanas, we accept Tukaram Maharaj, right? Who doesn't? Not because of the social reform of Mahatma Phule and all that. Before that also it was accepted only. Everybody was accepting Tukaram Maharaj as a great saint. Correct? So,
Yeah. Point being, Prabhuji, when we are talking about, let us say, Manu Smriti, or let us say Varnashrama to implement
Manu
somehow
Smriti also,
within.
one second. Manu Smriti also, remember, Manu writes very clearly that my laws are subject to change. Manu was never,
Correct.
it's not like an Islamic Quran book where he says that as it is permanent implementation. He says very
Correct.
clearly, my rules are subject to change in society. According to situation, you have to change it. And he has only said, who can be more broad-minded than that? So
Yes,
in
yes.
this context, he says,
Point
okay,
taken, Prabhuji. I am just trying to see that how will Varnashrama be implemented in a society like ISKCON, which is more devotional and less work oriented, because we don't define work in the society currently.
no, that's a very big question, and we are too small to discuss on that. But by and large, I don't even think ISKCON as an organization looking at implementing Varnashram at that level. Primarily, you are interested in creating a preacher class or Brahmin class. That also not Brahmin from a traditional Vedic sense, but general preacher and so on. So I mean that's a different thing altogether. I don't think
Mhm.
that. I don't think
But
that
then
is even
Prabhupada,
currently focus.
50% of my movement
No,
is
that's fine. That is there, but I don't think there is any. I mean, nobody's even talking about that so seriously. Yeah. Okay. I think we'll.
okay.
Anybody? Any other?
Thank you.
Anything else? We end the day. Yes, Chakrabarti Prabhu, what you're saying is right. Yeah. We can say that Prabhupada gave devotional purpose to Gita, and yeah. The technical things he never went into it so much. That was never his goal at that point of time.
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yes. Thank you very much. Srimad Bhagavad Gita ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Gaur Bhakta Vrinda ki jai.